Welcome to episode 32 of From A to Global Z. I'm your host, Dr. Bill Lord. In episode 31, we wrapped up our four-part mini-series on why bands break up. This is a really interesting series that if you're in a band or considering joining or starting a band, it's an information goldmine. I highly recommend taking time to give this series a listen. For episode 32, we're going to conduct an atypical gear shootout. One of the aspects of Global Z's mission is to conduct project-related research and development. We're always on the lookout for new technologies that might advance or improve our capabilities or cut our project costs without compromising the quality of the audio we record. In addition, in some cases, we actively seek ways to simplify the recording process. Enter the potential role of XLR to USB signal adapters. XLR to USB signal adapters have been around for years, but I don't think they get enough consideration. That said, if we can achieve excellent recordings by attaching XLR mics to a USB adapter or cable, which can then be plugged directly into the computer, it might eliminate the need to purchase, ship, and use USB audio interfaces. Not for all of our projects, but maybe for some. This would not only save money, but it would also keep us from having to train participants on how to use the equipment while cutting back on shipping and insurance fees. So this episode is a fundamental level shootout comparing 9 XLR to USB signal conversion products ranging from about $10 USD to just under $100. The nature of this episode demands a hybridized mic talk time. For most mic talk time segments, we explore one specific microphone attached to an audio interface, and off we go to the recording races. For this episode, we're going to record with the ICDM, but route the signal through essentially 10 different interfaces. The ICDM is quite obscure. In fact, it has not been available in North America for several years. ISK is a Chinese company that produces microphones for several prominent audio production companies. They also create their own line of mics at comparably good prices, although some of their gear is better than others. The story goes that a gentleman in Canada decided to handpick the gear that he feels is their best stuff and distributes them across North America from the Great White North. I have several of their mics and can attest that some of them do indeed punch above their price point. The past few years, his stock of products has dramatically declined. I've sent him an email to see what gives, but have not received a reply. I'm not sure if this is the result of the pandemic or supply chain issues, or if he's just decided to not actively market the brand, but his website has a lot of items that are listed as sold out. I purchased my IDCM in 2019 on sale for about $30. It's a solidly constructed mic with no doodads. My guess is the IDCM was designed to go head-to-head with dynamic mics such as the Shure 57 and 58, as well as SE Electronics V3, V7, and V7X. While I personally don't feel it is quite up to the standards of the aforementioned mics, I do believe for what I paid for it, it is a good buy, but see what you think. Now let's give a look and listen to some signal adapters. There are a fair number of companies manufacturing XLR to USB conversion products, and they've been around for quite some time. But many of these adapters take the form of a cable, while others take an inline product approach like the Shure product that I'm using here. And yet there's a few others, or a fair number, that also take a small desktop box approach to which kind of impedes on the portability. And in our particular case, I am looking for something that really streamlines the process and makes it very portable, so I'm not going to compare any of the desktop units. The criteria for our gear shootout are as follows. Have the most expensive option come in well under $100. Purchase the least expensive option available that receives a public rating of at least 4 stars. Purchase gear that represents the cost spectrum from least to most expensive. purchase gear that has name brand recognition as well as gear manufactured by lesser and unknown brands. Purchase some adapters that do not provide phantom power and some that do. The adapters must be able to deliver audio recordings at usable signal levels. And the quality of the recording needs to be subjectively very good or better. When it was all said and done, I purchased 9 adapter units to compare. To begin with, I opted to start at the top of the food chain in order to establish a top quality baseline. As such, for about $80, I purchased the Shure X2u. Next, I opted to find the cheapest possible well-rated solution. And coming in at a lean $11.65, including tax and shipping, it's the NewBEP USB microphone cable. Okay, so I have my top end and my bargain basement units. Time to fill in the middle. Here's a list of the other gear we've purchased from the least to most expensive. At $14.99, it's the OnStage MC12 IOU. For $18.95, we have an Amazon Superstar, the Hosongin adapter. So here we take a bit of a leap in price as the bulk of our offerings come in at around $30. Beginning our $30 club, we have the Behringer Mic2USB XLR to USB interface cable. Another contender in this price range is the XConnect. Next, the Maono XU01. And lastly, in this crowded price bracket, we have the Pyle PDUSB PP10, that's a mouthful, inline adapter. Okay, so plugging the gap between our $30 collection and the $80 Shure unit, we have MXL's Inline Mic Mate Classic, which will run you about $50. And that completes our lineup. Something worthy of note here, Pyle has 2 products that met my criteria, one priced at $29 and the other $39. And what is the difference, you might ask? One is black, the other is red. When you compare them side by side and compare the specs, the difference seems to be that you pay an extra $10 for the pretty red color. That is about it. All of the other specs look identical to me. Granted, the red color does look pretty cool, but you have to decide if the looks are worth an extra $10 of cool. I must take a quick moment to extend a nod of thanks to Bark at Obscure Mics. I first heard of the Maono XU01 from a review Bark featured on his Obscure Mics YouTube channel. And from what I heard, I was intrigued enough that I knew I wanted to buy and test one of their units. However, when I went to place an order, the XU01 was nowhere to be found. In fact, I couldn't even find it listed on Maono's website. So I contacted Bark, explained that I wanted to conduct a signal adapter shootout, including the XU01, and he kindly agreed to sell me his Maono adapter. So thanks, Bark. Okay, back to exploring the adapters. These XLR to USB adapters, especially adapters that do not have phantom power, have a reputation for delivering unusable signal. In other words, the recorded signal is so quiet that it is actually unusable. By the time you boost the signal to get it to a usable range, the recording would be accompanied by substantial unwanted noise. This is especially true if you're recording with a mic such as the Shure SM7B, which is notorious for requiring signal amplification. Typically, an ideal input signal for a microphone on an input meter will fall somewhere between -12 and -6 dB. If you get input levels of around -18 or -24, those tracks may be too quiet for traditional usage. A level of 0, on the other hand, may result in a signal that is too hot, which results in a distorted sound referred to as clipping. While there are a number of things we can test on these units to keep the video from becoming ridiculously long-winded, I will limit the testing of these units to compare 3 things and 3 things only. First, I will provide my thoughts regarding build quality of the individual units. I will test to see if an adapter generates a usable signal. And lastly, I will test to see if the recorded audio matches the quality found on a recording when the mic is connected to a typical USB audio interface. Our process for comparing signal levels is as follows. I've recorded a C minor chord that will play through my studio monitors. The microphone will be placed in proximity to the monitor in a location that best captures the sound of the recording. For each signal adapter, the mic will remain in the same distance and angle to the monitor, and the playback volume of the C minor chord will also remain the same. The wave file will be captured in Audacity with the mic recording level set to 100%. A screenshot of each adapter's wave signal will be displayed as a point of visual reference while I play back the captured wave file. Then, we will compare the quality of the audio signal by recording my voice with each adapter. Okay, so let's begin by establishing a quality baseline. We're going to record the ICDM using an XLR cable running into a MOTU M2 with the gain set at about 3 o'clock. This is a baseline recording of the ISK ICDM routed through the MOTU M2. This is a vocal test of the NewBEP. This is a vocal test of the OnStage MC12 IOU. This is a vocal test of the Hosongin adapter cable. This completes our sub $20 units. Next, we give a listen to our $30 group. This is a vocal test of the Behringer Mic2USB. This is a vocal test of the XConnect. This is a vocal test of the Maono XU01. Breaking away from the cable approach, we now have a listen to the Pyle PDUSB PP10, or 10 I guess, inline adapter, which not only has phantom power, it also has a mic mute button, headphone port, and a mix control dial. This is a vocal test of the Pyle PDUSB PP10. And that completes our $30 group. Next, for around $50, we have MXL's Inline Mic Mate Classic. The MXL adds phantom power and has a switch that allows you to choose 3 gain levels. Let's give it a go with the gain set to maximum. This is a vocal test of the MXL Mic Mate Classic. And just to wrap things up, once again, our flagship unit, the Shure X2u. We're going to do that in the more controlled environment. We've been using it throughout this video, but let's do it in this using the same settings as the rest so we have a comparable comparison. This is a vocal test of the Shure X2u. Alrighty then, time to break into our summary analysis of each signal adapter, then transition into recommendations. NewBEP. For the build and design, keeping in mind this adapter is the cheapest of the lot, less than 11 bucks, the NewBEP is giving you a good bang for your buck. The cable feels adequate, as does the XLR connector. It's a little cheap feeling. The connector definitely feels a little bit cheap. It shares a similar design and size to the ART and OnStage adapters. The shell sounds hollow, the adapter shell, but it is definitely usable, especially at this price. The USB connector has a red light that lets you know when it is successfully connected to the USB port, which is nice, and really not bad considering the price. As far as its audio levels, it was a good performer actually, considering that it's the cheapest unit of the lot, hitting minus 15 dB on the input meter. So I'm going to give the input rating on a 5 scale a respectable 4. As far as audio quality, unfortunately, the audio quality does not hold up. There is substantial high frequency pitch running across the recording, and the recording itself does not effectively capture the entire frequency spectrum. Taking this into consideration, along with the price, I'm going to give it a 3. On we go to the OnStage MC12 IOU. As far as build and design, As with the NewBEP, I'm going to keep in mind this adapter only costs 15 bucks. So I'm not surprised that this does not feel like it was built like the Shure unit is. And Shure is really known for their quality products. It does not feel like anywhere near the same build quality as the Shure. The cable feels stiff but serviceable. The XLR connector is good, but the USB connector shell feels cheap and sounds hollow just by grasping it into your fingers. Not that it feels like it's going to fail right away, but it feels like a $15 adapter. The USB connector has a blue LED that lets you know when it's successfully connected to the USB port, so that's a good thing. Regarding its audio levels, OnStage needs to go back to the drawing board on this one, as their signal is very weak at minus 26 dB. It's the worst of the lot regarding audio levels. So on a 5 scale for audio levels, I give it a 1. Audio quality, the signal's too low to even be usable. I amplified the recording to listen to the quality, and it's between fair and poor. So for audio quality, it also gets a 1. OnStage, you really need to rework this product or come up with something better. All right, so let's talk about the Hosongin adapter cable. Their build and design quality is better than expected at this price point. The XLR connector is solid, as is the USB connector, and even the cable feels reasonably good. They've taken things a step above the others by including ferrite beads, which in theory filters out high frequency noise. Nice. The USB connector has a green light LED that lets you know when it is successfully connected to the USB port. So kudos to Hosongin for the build quality. As far as audio levels, I was not impressed. It's barely usable. It gets a 2.5. Audio quality, the signal is quite low. When amplified, however, the quality is better than expected. All things considered, the audio quality earns a 3. On we go to the Behringer Mic2USB. Starting with their build and design, I have some Behringer stuff, and in general, the build quality of their gear can be quite good. So I'm disappointed in the build quality of the Mic2USB. The cable feels thin and cheap. The XLR connector is okay. If you tap on the USB connector shell, it sounds hollow and almost frail. The USB connector does have a blue LED that lets you know when it is successfully connected to the USB port. As far as audio levels, frankly, Behringer should be embarrassed. I have, like I say, multiple pieces of their gear, so I know their gear is better than this. I give it a 2. Very poor performance as far as audio levels go. Audio quality, here was a surprise. Even though it gave me what I would consider an unusable signal, when I bumped it up, albeit a whopping 27 decibels, the quality of the audio is pretty close to the XLR baseline through the MOTU audio interface. Granted, it is also accompanied by minus 30 dB of noise. This is a real shame. It looks like Behringer almost had a very solid performer if they could have worked out the signal issue. Based on all of this, I'm giving the audio quality a 3 out of 5. On to the ART XConnect. Build and design. ART has a history of producing some really good stuff. Another one of those companies that does best bang for the buck kind of products. So I was looking forward to testing this particular product. The XConnect looks quite similar to the much less expensive OnStage MC12 IOU. The XLR connectors look identical, and at first glance, the USB connectors look identical as well. Look a little closer though, and the plastic on the ART feels to be a little bit better quality, is a tiny bit larger, and does not sound hollow when handling it. The cable too is of a different material, although to my hands it still feels cheap, much cheaper than it should considering the cost. The USB connector has a red LED that lets you know when it is successfully connected to the USB port. So how about audio levels? As far as audio levels go, it's a solid performer. On a 5 scale, I give it a 4. So ART, you did a great job there. A good job there. Regarding audio quality, the audio quality is where XConnect just didn't cut it. Not that the results are bad, but they are not what I expect to hear from ART. The audio comes across as sounding hollow, mostly mid to upper frequency heavy. So for audio quality, Art gets a 3. The Maono XU01. Build and design. The cable and hardware seem like they are decent quality, although the plastic shell that contains the phantom power switch feels like relatively cheap plastic. It should be adequate, but does not instill the utmost of confidence, and I'm left wondering how long it will last. The shell also has an itty-bitty LED that lights up when you're connected to the USB port. As far as audio levels for the price, I would hope for better, but this is not a bad performance. Audio levels, it gets a 3.5. Audio quality, regarding what it is lacking in signal level, it does make up for in audio quality. Once I bump the signal up 13 dB, Maono gets extremely close to matching the audio quality captured in the MOTU audio interface. Very pleasant audio quality. For this feat, it earns a stellar 4.5. Quite a surprise there. Let's talk about the Pyle, here we go, PDUSB PP10 inline adapter. Can you please shorten the name? Build and design. I'm not even going to say the model number. The adapter is similar to the MXL and Shure units in that they do not take an adapter cable approach. Rather, it's an aluminum cylinder about the width of a person's thumb. One end plugs directly into the mic, while the other has a USB port to connect to the computer via cable. The body and ports seem well made, as does the XLR connector. What separates this unit from the others, especially for around $30, is its feature set. Along with phantom power, it also has a mic mute button, headphone port, a mix control dial, and an LED that is red when the mic is mute and blue when it is engaged. All three buttons, though, they do seem a little bit flimsy, but again, for $30, I would not expect perfection. The build quality and feature set are quite impressive for the price point. Regarding the audio levels on the Pyle blows the others completely out of the water. From purely a signal perspective, they did a great job. It's a little bit too loud by comparison. That does not speak to the quality of the signal, but the signal has plenty of headroom, so it gets a 5 for that performance. Now on with the audio quality. The Signer adapter surprisingly jacked the signal through the roof, resulting in clipping. And once I dialed back the gain and recorded once again, it produced a very serviceable recording. To my ears, the audio is missing some of the lower frequencies, but the recording, it does have a great deal of clarity with a very slight overemphasis on the top end. I'm going to give it a 3.5. Okay, MXL, another very well-known brand. We're going to talk about their Inline MicMate Classic. The build and design, I'm going to begin by starting that MXL refers to this as a single channel interface. The housing is constructed of aluminum and feels solid. However, there's an important note here. Evidently, the MXL was designed primarily to be connected to an XLR cable. When I tried to plug the aluminum unit directly into a microphone, the adapter design does not allow you to accommodate a direct connection without doing a little bit of mechanical arm twisting. The goodish news is you can unscrew a sleeve over the XLR connector and then connect the MicMate to a mic. However, there's a couple things here that really concern me about taking this action. First, the threads associated with the sleeve are ultra fine, which increases the possibilities for cross-threading if you have to repeatedly put the sleeve back onto the unit, take it off, put it back on, take it back off. Also, once the sleeve was removed, I noticed there was a ton of fine aluminum particles on the sleeve and the body threads. And this is really, I was very surprised to see this. It's concerning to me. It feels gritty when you remove or screw the sleeve back onto the body, but of course, if you have a bunch of aluminum particles across the threads, that's not going to be any surprise. Next, The unit does deliver phantom power and has a red LED that lights up when connected to a USB port. It also has something that the other units don't have, 3-position gain switch, which has the ability to deliver low, medium, and high levels of gain to the mic. And one thing worth noting, there's a quick start card that comes with the adapter. Unfortunately, it is anything but a quick start guide. There's no guidance that comes with the unit as how best to use it. And even the MXL website fails to deliver useful information on the interface, so I was kind of disappointed there. Regular price on this one falls between $70 and $99. I got mine for $50 and am only moderately impressed with the design. The gain switch is nice though, and the general build quality seems solid. As far as overall levels, a shocking disappointment here from MXL, who is known for making decent microphones, hardly usable audio levels. And it's the second most expensive unit, and yet it turns in the second worst signal performance of the bunch. An $11 unit even put this $70 adapter to shame. It gets a disappointing 1. Regarding audio quality, if you bump up the signal 27 decibels, you get a good sounding recording with a bit of audio anomalies and background noise thrown in for free. This unit was originally street priced at around $100. I got it on sale for $50, and MXL, really the quality of audio is almost there. I just want to know what happened. Audio quality gets a 3. So you've been listening to, throughout this recording, the Shure X2u. Let's talk about their build quality and design. From a build quality perspective, without a doubt, the X2u audio interface is in a class far superior to the rest. As soon as you take possession of the device, it screams solid, well-built, well-designed. It feels like a Shure product. Shure is a respected name in the professional audio world. The adapter has phantom power and an on-off button, a headphone jack on one side, a mic gain dial, a headphone volume dial, and a blend dial, all in a slightly recessed channel to help prevent unintentional adjustments of the dial controls. A simple but nice feature is the back of the unit. It's actually flat and has a thin piece of foam attached, which helps prevent unintended slippage and rolling if you place it down on a table. Another appreciated feature is an LED light that displays as green if you have a good signal, yellow if you're close to clipping, and red if you're actually clipping. It also has an LED that lights green when you have successfully connected the device to a USB port, and LED that lights green when phantom power is engaged. Without a doubt, this is the best designed, best built, most full-featured interface of the lot, but you're also going to have to pay for it, so prepare to have your wallet open. Still, for around $80, it does quite a lot. As far as audio levels, not much of a surprise here. It delivered the second strongest signal, second only to the Pyle, which was screaming. And my next question would be, how clean are the respective recordings? On a 5 scale, I gave it a 4.5. Audio quality, this was really interesting. The baseline recording had a touch of sibilance attached or an overemphasis on S's. Somehow Shure managed to keep the best of the recording and tame the sibilance. Really, really interesting. I guess I should not be surprised. It's the only unit to receive a perfect 5 for audio quality. Alrighty, time for recommendations. Overall observations here, there were a number of real surprises that surfaced during the shootout. The first surprise was how several name brand solutions turned in subpar performances and how a couple of the lesser name units really shined. Another important observation is each of these units colored the sound of their respective recording, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Units I cannot recommend. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of adapters that just did not make the grade. The list includes OnStage, Hosongin, Behringer, Art, and MXL. There are some really big names on the list, and I would have expected them to perform much better than they did, so I was quite disappointed, really. Units that are serviceable, we have 2 adapters on the OK list, and they are the NewBEP and the Pyle. The NewBEP, although the audio quality did not really hold up, turned in respectable signal levels and for under $11. If you need a solution on the cheap and you're not seeking to achieve commercial quality performance, the NewBEP may be just what the audio engineering doctor ordered. The Pyle, on the other hand, delivered the strongest of the levels of the lot, but the audio quality was lacking a bit, and so is the build quality. One of the knobs turned non-stop, so I could just spin it endlessly. That shouldn't obviously be happening. And frankly, the knobs felt a bit flimsy, but the unit turns in a reasonably good performance at an attractive price. The best of the best, only 2 units made it onto the best of the best list. And these are the Maono and the Shure. And unfortunately, the Maono is currently unavailable. No word if it'll be coming back or if it'll be brought back into production. Maybe they're upgrading some new version, and that will be released hopefully soon. Look forward to it if that's what indeed's going on. That leaves us with the Shure. Not much of a surprise there. The build quality is rock solid. Its feature set is strong, as is the audio it delivers. All right, so what about final recommendations? If they bring back the Maono, I would recommend it and the Shure. If funds are super tight and you don't object to a bit of quality compromise, the NewBEP is worthy of consideration. Also, assuming the Pyle unit I received was skipped over in quality control, how could you miss a knob that continuously turns? I do think it is a good option given its balance of feature set and price. I do wish they would tighten those knobs though. That would be helpful. One more related piece of gear to consider. Famous microphone manufacturer Blue has produced the Blue Icicle, and the Icicle, like Maono, is difficult to find for sale. However, unlike the Maono, it is still listed on their website. From the reviews I've seen on the unit, most people speak well of the device, although they do complain about the build quality. Apparently, it's plastic, and the plastic does not feel particularly robust. I tried to acquire an Icicle to throw it into the mix, but it did not arrive on time for the Shootout. Just know it is another signal adapter that you might consider. The street price on it's a bit higher. It's on a bit of the high side, around $60, but it does come in with phantom power and a gain knob. There are several of these floating around for sale used, which might be a good option worth considering. Lastly, I just discovered Shure is about to release a new signal adapter into the fray. It's called the Shure XU01. I won't go into details. I haven't seen any images of it, but I have seen some text about the new product. If you do a search online for it, you can find out some information about it. Not sure about an MSRP when it will be launched, but again, if you go online, you can find some text about the product. And I think there might even be a drawing. Closing remarks. Please keep in mind this was not a thorough review of these adapter units. We only considered their levels and captured audio quality. And there's a bunch of other stuff to consider if you're shopping for one of these units, such as their sample rate, latency and latency monitoring, noise floor, gain range, and bit depth. But if you don't mind connecting a mic to a USB audio interface, chances are you may achieve a superior result in your recording due to superior mic preamps, better analog to digital converters, and higher bit rates. At the very least, you lose the convenience of having a simple, highly portable inline type of solution, but hopefully by providing the information discovered in this comparison, I've assisted you in your quest to find the XLR to USB signal adapter best suited to your specific requirements. I hope you return to check out next episode of From A to Global Z, where we will explore something else. I have no idea what that will be, but I'm confident it will be something useful for somebody. Until then, stay happy and healthy. Wishing you peace through music. I'm Bill Lord.